Professor Yun's The Evolution Theory from the Viewpoint of Christianity, the thorough analysis of the descent or origin of man. Lecture 32, Chapter 20, Secondary Sexual Characters of Man, continued. No doubt the characters of all kinds may be too much developed for beauty. Hence, a perfect beauty, which implies many characters modified in a particular manner, will be in every race a prodigy. If everyone were cast in the same mold, there would be no such thing as beauty. If all our women were to become as beautiful as the Venus de Medici, we should for a time be charmed, but we should soon wish for variety, and as soon as we had obtained variety, we should wish to see certain characters a little exaggerated beyond the existing common standard. With mammals, the general rule appears to be that characters of all kinds are inherited equally by the males and the females. We might therefore expect that with mankind, any characters gained by the females or by the males through sexual selection would commonly be transferred to the offspring of both sexes. If any change has thus been effected, it is almost certain that the different race would be differently modified, as each has its own standard of beauty. With mankind, especially with savages, many causes interfere with the action of sexual selection as far as the bodily frame is concerned, and there is reason to believe that in certain civilized and semi-civilized nations, sexual selection has effected something in modifying the bodily frame of some of the members. The causes which prevent or check the action of sexual selection with savages. The chief causes are first, so-called communal marriage or promiscuous intercourse. Secondly, the consequences of female infanticide. Thirdly, early betrothals. And lastly, the low estimation in which women are held as mere slaves. It is obvious that as long as the pairing of man or of any other animals is left to mere chance, with no choice exerted by either sex, there can be no sexual selection, and no effect will be produced on the offspring by certain individuals having been had advantage over others in their courtship. The indirect evidence in favor of the belief of the former prevalence of communal marriages is strong. It is evident in the case of such marriages, or where the marriage tie is very loose, that the relationship of the child to its father cannot be known. Accordingly, in many cases, the lines of descent are traced through the mother alone, to the exclusion of the father. As far as sexual selection is concerned, all that is required is that choice should be exerted before the parents unite. Infanticide. Barbarians find it difficult to support themselves and their children, and it is a simple plan to kill their infantes. In Polynesian Island, women have been known to kill from 4 or 5 to even 10 of their children. In most cases, a larger number of female than of male infantes are destroyed. When owing to female infanticide, the women of the tribe were few. The habit of capturing wives from neighboring tribes would naturally arise. Sir Lubbock, however, attributes the practice in chief part to the former existence of communal marriage. But as soon as the practice of procuring wives from a distinct tribe was effected through barter, as now occurs in many places, the more attractive woman would generally have been purchased. The incessant crossing, however, between the tribe and tribe, which necessarily follows from any form of this habit, would tend to keep all the people inhabiting the same country nearly uniform in character, and this would interfere with the power of sexual selection in differentiating the tribes. Early betrothals and slavery of women. With many savages, it is the custom to betroth the females whilst male infants, and this would effectually prevent preference being exerted on either side according to personal appearance. The same consequences with reference to sexual selection would to a certain extent follow when women are valued almost solely as slaves or beasts of burden, as is the case with many savages. We thus see that several customs prevail with savages which must greatly interfere with or completely stop the action of sexual selection. During primordial times, there would be no early betrothals. Thus, during these times, all the conditions for sexual selection would have been more favorable than at a later period when man had advanced in his intellectual powers but had retrograded in his instincts. Therefore, whatever influence sexual selection may have had in producing the differences between the races of man and between man and the higher quadrumana, this influence would have been more powerful at a remote period than at the present day, though probably not yet wholly lost. The manner of action of sexual selection with mankind. With animals in a state of nature, many characters proper to the males, such as size, strength, special weapons, courage, and pugnacity, have been acquired through the law of battle. The semi-human progenitors of man, like their allies, the quadrumana, will almost certainly have been thus modified, and as savages still fight for the possession of their women, a similar process of selection has probably gone in a greater or less degree to the present day. Other characters proper to the males of the lower animals, such as bright colors and various ornaments, have been acquired by the more attractive males, having been preferred by the females. With respect to the other form of sexual selection, which with the lower animals is much more common, namely when the females are the selectors and accept only those males which excite or charm them most, we have reason to believe that it formerly acted on our progenitors. Preference on the part of the women steadily acting in any one direction would ultimately affect the characters of the tribe. For the women would generally choose not merely the handsomest man according to their standard of taste, but those who were at the same time best able to defend and support them. Such well-endowed pairs would commonly rear a large number of offspring than the less favored. Absence of hair on the body and its development on the face and head. From the presence of the woolly hair or lanigo on the human fetus and of rudimentary hairs scattered over the body during maturity, we may infer that man is descended from some animals which was born hairy and remained so during life. The absence of hair on the body is to a certain extent a secondary sexual character, for in all parts of the world women are less hairy than men. Therefore, we may reasonably suspect that this character has been gained through sexual selection. As this character is common to all races, we may conclude that it was our female semi-human ancestors who were first divested of hair, and that this occurred at an extremely remote period before the several races had diverged from a common stock. With respect to the beard in man, if we turn to our best guide, the quadrumana, we find beard equally developed in both sexes of many species, but in some either confined to the males or more developed in them than in the females. From this fact, it is highly probable that the males first acquired their beards through sexual selection as an ornament, transmitting them in most cases equally or nearly so to their offspring of both sexes. Hence, these and other points could hardly fail to be slowly and gradually exaggerated from the more powerful and able men in each tribe, who would succeed in rearing the largest number of offspring, having selected during many generations for their wives the most strongly characterized and therefore most attractive women. For my own part, I conclude that of all the causes which have led to the differences in external appearance between the races of man, and to a certain extent between man and the lower animals, sexual selection has been the most efficient. Shalom.